The great hall was silent except for the soft humming of alien technology. Hyunwoo stood alone in the center of the massive chamber, his dark suit looking small against the towering walls that stretched up into darkness. Around him, the members of the Galactic Dominion Council sat on floating platforms that glowed with different colors of light. Each alien species had their own section. The hierarchy, with their insect-like bodies and clicking mandibles, occupied the red platforms to his left. Their compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights like tiny mirrors. To his right, the Nexus beings floated in their crystal shells, their bodies made of living mineral that sparkled and shifted colors as they moved. Behind them sat dozens of other species, all watching the lone human with various emotions. Some looked curious, others bored, and a few seemed almost sad. But most looked relieved, as if a difficult decision was finally being made. High above them all, Council Leader Vextar spoke in his deep, rumbling voice. His species looked like living stone with cracks of glowing energy running through their bodies like veins of fire. Human Representative Hyunwoo of the planet Earth, Vextar began, his words echoing through the chamber. You stand before this council to hear our final judgment on your species and your place in galactic civilization. Hyunwoo nodded once but said nothing. His face remained calm, showing no fear or anger. This surprised many of the watching aliens, who had expected the human to beg or argue. For 300 years, Vextar continued, your species has been part of our great community. We welcomed you when you first reached the stars. We shared our knowledge and technology. We opened trade routes and allowed you to settle on uninhabited worlds. The council leader paused, letting his words sink in. But your species has proven difficult. A hierarchy member clicked its mandibles in agreement. Humans refuse to follow proper procedures, it said in its sharp, buzzing voice. They ask too many questions. They change things without permission. They spread too quickly to too many worlds. One of the Nexus beings added its voice, which sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. They do not respect the old ways. They make friends with species we have marked as dangerous. They share technology without consulting the council. Hyunwoo listened to each complaint without changing expression. He had heard them all before many times. His government had tried to address these concerns, but it seemed nothing would satisfy the council. Most troubling of all, Vextar said, his voice growing darker, humans have begun to question our authority. They ask why certain species are forbidden. They wonder why some star systems are off limits. They do not understand that the Dominion has kept peace in this galaxy for thousands of years. The hall fell silent again. Hyunwoo could hear his own heartbeat in the quiet. He knew what was coming next, but he waited for the words to be spoken. Therefore, Vextar announced, the Galactic Dominion Council has decided to revoke Earth's membership in our community. All human colonies must withdraw from Dominion space. All trade agreements are canceled. All diplomatic relations are ended. Gasps and murmurs came from some of the watching aliens. Even though many had voted for this decision, hearing it spoken aloud made it feel real and final. You have one standard galactic year to remove all human presence from our territories, Vextar continued. After that time, any human ships or settlements found in Dominion space will be treated as hostile invaders. Hyunwoo finally spoke. His voice was steady and clear, carrying easily through the vast chamber. I understand the council's decision. Humanity accepts your judgment. This caused more surprise among the watching aliens. They had expected protests, anger, maybe even threats. Instead, the humans seemed almost prepared for this moment. We will begin withdrawal immediately, Hyunwoo said. All human colonies will be notified. All trade agreements will be honored until they expire. All diplomatic staff will return to Earth within the specified time. Vextar's glowing veins pulsed brighter, showing his own surprise. You accept this so easily? Hyunwoo smiled slightly, but there was something in his eyes that made several aliens shift uncomfortably on their platforms. Council Leader, humanity has always respected the decisions of those in authority. If the Dominion believes we do not belong in your community, then perhaps it is time for us to find our own path among the stars. The way he said it made some of the aliens wonder if they had made a mistake. There was no defeat in his voice, no sadness or fear. Instead, there was something that almost sounded like relief. The council session is ended, Vextar declared. The human representative may depart. Hyunwoo bowed formally to the assembled aliens, then turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the silent chamber as hundreds of alien eyes watched him go. Just before he reached the door, he stopped and turned back. "Council Leader Vextar," he said, "I have one final message from the people of Earth." "Speak," Vextar replied. "We thank the Dominion for the lessons you have taught us. We have learned much about unity, cooperation, and the importance of being prepared for the future. These lessons will serve us well in the years to come." With that, Hyun-woo left the chamber. The great doors closed behind him with a soft hiss, leaving the council members to wonder why his final words had sounded less like gratitude and more like a promise. In the silence that followed, several aliens began to question whether they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history, but it was too late now. The decision was made and humanity's fate was sealed, or so they thought. Far away on Earth, President So-Ra was already preparing for the next phase of humanity's greatest adventure. The Dominion believed they were casting out a troublesome species, but they had no idea what they had actually done. They had just set humanity free. 15 years ago, Dr. Minho had stood in a secret underground facility hidden beneath the mountains of Korea. The room was filled with the soft blue glow of computer screens and the quiet hum of machinery that most humans had never seen before. On the largest screen, a star map showed the galaxy with thousands of tiny dots marking possible destinations. "Are you sure about this?" President So-Ra had asked him that day. She was younger then, serving as the Minister of Space Development. Her face showed the weight of the decision they were about to make. Minho had nodded without hesitation. "The signs are clear. The Dominion grows more suspicious of us every year. They limit where we can go, what we can build, who we can talk to. Eventually, they will decide we are too much trouble to keep around." So-Ra had studied the star map carefully. Each dot represented a world that could support human life, located far beyond the edges of Dominion space. "And you believe we can reach these places without them knowing?" "The galaxy is vast," Minho had replied. "The Dominion controls only a small part of it. There are entire spiral arms they have never explored, dark routes between the stars where their sensors cannot reach. If we are careful, if we plan well, we can plant seeds of humanity across the cosmos." That conversation had started the most ambitious project in human history. The Deep Space Colonization Project had been born in secret, funded by black budgets and hidden research programs. Only a handful of people knew the full scope of what they were planning. Now, 15 years later, Minho stood in a similar room on a space station orbiting Earth's moon. The screens around him showed status reports from across the galaxy. Green lights indicated successful colony ships that had reached their destinations. Yellow lights marked ships still in transit. Red lights showed the few missions that had failed or gone silent. There were so many green lights that the display looked like a field of stars. "Report," Minho said to his assistant, a young woman named Bora who had joined the project 5 years ago. "Colony ship Dreamer reached the Kepler 442 system 3 months ago," Bora said, reading from her tablet. "They report successful landing and establishment of basic infrastructure. Population 800 adults, 200 children born during the journey." Minho smiled. The Dreamer had been one of their earliest launches, carrying volunteers who knew they might never see Earth again. "What about the Andromeda Group?" "Galaxy Wanderer and Starseeker both report successful establishment in the Andromeda Galaxy," Bora continued. "They've made contact with each other and are beginning joint operations. Combined population now over 2,000. The old scientist felt pride swell in his chest. When they had first proposed sending colony ships to other galaxies, many had called it impossible. The journey would take decades, even with their most advanced engines. But the volunteers had been willing to sacrifice their lives for humanity's future. Dr. Minho, another technician, called from across the room. "We're receiving a transmission from Captain Ji Young aboard the Prometheus." "Put it through," Minho said. The main screen flickered and showed the face of a woman in her 30s, with short black hair and tired but determined eyes. Behind her, through the window of her ship's bridge, space stretched out in unfamiliar star patterns. "Dr. Minho," Ji Young said, her voice slightly delayed by the vast distance. "I'm reporting from the Galactic Rim territories. We've established our 15th supply cache and are beginning construction of Forward Base 7. Any signs of Dominion presence in your area?" Minho asked. Ji Young shook her head. "Nothing at all. These regions are completely empty of Dominion ships or sensors. But we have made some interesting discoveries. She gestured to someone off-screen, and another person handed her a data tablet. We found evidence of previous civilizations on several worlds. Ancient ruins, abandoned cities, technology that's thousands of years old. Minho leaned forward with interest. What kind of civilizations? That's the strange part, Ji Young said. From what we can tell, these were advanced species. Their technology was as good as the Dominions, maybe better in some ways. But they all seem to have vanished around the same time, roughly 3,000 years ago. Bo-Ra looked up from her own tablet with concern. Dr. Minho, that's about the same time the Dominion claims they established galactic peace. Minho felt a chill run down his spine. He had always wondered why the Dominion was so strict about which star systems were off limits. Now he was beginning to understand. Captain Ji Young, he said carefully, I want you to document everything you find, but be extremely careful. Don't leave any traces of your presence, understood, sir? Prometheus out. The transmission ended, leaving the room in thoughtful silence. Minho turned to his team of technicians and researchers, all of whom had dedicated their lives to this secret project. How many ships have we launched in total? He asked. 843 colony ships, Bo-Ra replied immediately, plus 216 supply vessels and 97 deep space research platforms. And how many have the Dominion detected? 0, sir. As far as they know, we're still confined to our assigned territories in the local group. Minho nodded with satisfaction. Each ship had been built in secret, using materials and technology that couldn't be traced back to official human programs. They traveled on routes carefully calculated to avoid all known Dominion sensor networks. Some journeys took decades, but the payoff was worth it. What about Taemin's manufacturing stations? Minho asked. Another technician spoke up. All 47 asteroid facilities are operational and producing according to schedule. They've built an additional 300 ships that are ready for deployment. Minho walked to the window and looked out at Earth below. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from this distance, but he knew that down there, President Sora was dealing with increasing pressure from the Dominion Council. The aliens were becoming more suspicious of human activities, asking more questions, demanding more restrictions. Sir, Bo-Ra said quietly, do you think they'll really banish us? Minho smiled grimly. I'm counting on it. The Dominion thinks they're punishing us by cutting us off from their civilization. What they don't realize is that they're actually setting us free. He turned back to the star map with its thousands of green lights scattered across the galaxy and beyond. Each light represented a community of humans who had left everything behind to ensure their species' survival. They were farmers and engineers, teachers and soldiers, artists and scientists. They were humanity's children, planted in the cosmic soil to grow into something the galaxy had never seen before. Continue monitoring all transmissions, Minho ordered, and prepare the final phase contingency plans. If the Dominion does what we expect them to do, we'll need to be ready to disappear completely from their sight. As his team returned to their work, Minho allowed himself a moment of quiet pride. For 15 years, they had been planting seeds in the darkness between the stars. Soon it would be time for those seeds to grow into something magnificent. The Dominion thought they ruled the galaxy, but they were about to learn that humanity had already moved beyond their reach. Admiral Dong Hyun stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Unity, watching as the last visible human colony ships approached Earth's orbit. To any observer, it looked like a species in defeat, gathering their scattered people for a final retreat to their homeworld. The Dominion's spy satellites recorded everything, just as he had planned. Admiral, his communications officer, reported, the New Geneva colony ship is requesting docking permission at Station 7. Granted, Dong Hyun replied, but he smiled slightly as he said it. The New Geneva colony ship was indeed requesting docking permission, but its cargo hold was empty. The actual colonists from New Geneva had transferred to one of the invisible stealth ships 3 days ago and were already on their way to join the hidden settlements in the Vega system. The ship that was docking was filled with automated systems designed to create the heat, signatures, and energy readings of 3,000 human passengers. To the Dominion sensors, it would look exactly like a crowded refugee ship carrying defeated colonists home to Earth. Status report from all sectors, Dong Hyun ordered. His tactical officer, Commander Hee Jin, stepped forward with her tablet. She had spent 5 years working as a trade liaison with the Dominion before being recalled for this operation. Her knowledge of alien surveillance methods had been invaluable in planning their deception. Sector 7 reports successful evacuation of all visible colonies, Hyjin said. The Dominion observers have confirmed that Bergen's world, New Kyoto, and the Terra Nova stations all appear empty. And the reality? Dong-hyun asked quietly. Bergen's world has been converted to a stealth manufacturing facility. New Kyoto's population was transferred to the hidden bases in the Centauri Dark Zone. Terra Nova station is now running on skeleton crew, but they're maintaining full sensor signatures to look like a normal evacuation point. Dong-hyun nodded with satisfaction. Every move they made was designed to give the Dominion exactly what they expected to see. The aliens wanted humans to look defeated and disorganized. So that's exactly what the humans appeared to be. What about our friend Insu's electronic warfare project? Heejin's expression grew more serious. He's exceeded all expectations. The false energy readings from Earth are so convincing that the Dominion thinks our population has doubled in the past 6 months. They believe every human in the galaxy is now crowded onto our home world. In reality, Earth's population was dropping every day. Millions of people were boarding stealth ships and disappearing into the hidden colony network. But Insu's clever programming made their heat signatures and communication patterns look like they were still there, crowded into massive refugee camps across the planet's surface. Sir, the communications officer called out, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Ji Young. On screen, Dong-hyun ordered. Ji Young's face appeared on the main display, but the background showed the interior of an advanced warship rather than the simple exploration vessel she had commanded before. Admiral, the Prometheus fleet is in position. All stealth ships have successfully cleared Dominion sensor range. How many ships are we talking about? Dong-hyun asked. 2,417 vessels of various classes. We've managed to evacuate over 3 million people without the Dominion detecting a single departure. Even Dong-hyun was impressed by that number. The stealth technology developed by Dr. Ara's team had worked better than anyone had dared hope. The ships were invisible to every type of sensor the Dominion possessed, moving through space like ghosts. What about the manufacturing stations? Taemin reports that all asteroid facilities are operating at full capacity. They've produced an additional 800 ships in the past 3 months, including 30 of the new Dreadnought-class vessels. Dong-hyun felt a surge of pride. The Dreadnoughts were humanity's secret masterpiece, ships larger and more powerful than anything in the Dominion fleet. They used technology that the aliens had declared impossible, powered by dark matter engines that existed in the spaces between dimensions. Have there been any Dominion patrols in your area? Ji Young shook her head. They're not even looking. As far as they know, we're all huddled around Earth preparing for our final exile. They've pulled back their patrol ships and are just monitoring the approaches to Dominion space. Perfect. Continue Phase 3 operations and await further orders. The transmission ended, and Dong-hyun turned to study the tactical display that covered one wall of the bridge. It showed 2 different versions of reality. The red symbols represented what the Dominion believed about human activities, a defeated species gathering for retreat. The blue symbols showed the truth, a vast network of hidden colonies, secret bases, and stealth fleets spreading across multiple galaxies. Admiral, Hyejin said quietly, I've been wondering about something. What's that, Commander? Why haven't the Dominion tried to destroy us completely? They have the power to wipe out Earth if they wanted to. Instead, they're just banishing us. Dong-hyun had wondered about that too. After studying Dominion history and behavior patterns, he had developed a theory. They don't see us as a real threat. To them, we're just a troublesome younger species that needs to be taught a lesson. They think exile will break our spirit and make us easier to control when they eventually let us back into galactic society. And if they knew the truth? If they knew the truth, Dong-hyun said grimly, they would have destroyed Earth years ago and hunted down every human in the galaxy. The bridge fell silent as everyone considered that possibility. Their entire plan depended on the Dominion's arrogance and blind spots. The aliens had ruled the galaxy for so long that they couldn't imagine a younger species outmaneuvering them. Sir, the tactical officer reported, we're detecting Dominion scout ships approaching the solar system's edge. Right on schedule, Dong-hyun said. They're coming to make sure we're really leaving. Activate the final phase of the evacuation theater. Across Earth's orbital space, hundreds of ships began moving in carefully choreographed patterns. To the approaching Dominion scouts, it would look like the chaotic movement of a species in desperate retreat. Ships appeared to be loading refugees, transferring supplies and preparing for a long journey into exile. In reality, most of the ships were empty shells controlled by automated systems. The real evacuation had been completed weeks ago. Now they were just putting on a show for their alien audience. Communications, send a message to President Sora, Donghyun ordered. Tell her that the final act is about to begin. As the Dominion scouts drew closer, their sensors recorded exactly what they expected to see. Humanity in defeat, preparing to disappear into the dark spaces beyond the galactic rim. The aliens felt satisfied that their plan was working perfectly. They had no idea that they were watching the greatest magic trick in galactic history, while they focused on the obvious movements around Earth. Millions of humans were already spreading across the cosmos like seeds on the solar wind. The Dominion thought they were witnessing an ending. Instead, they were watching humanity's greatest beginning. 6 months had passed since the Great Exile began. The Dominion Council felt pleased with themselves as their sensors showed empty space where human colonies once thrived. Earth itself appeared quiet and isolated, broadcasting only simple messages of a species learning to accept their fate. Then everything changed in a single moment. Dr. Wu Jin had spent 20 years perfecting the impossible. Standing in the control center deep beneath Seoul, he watched as thousands of readings flashed across his screens. The gravitational field generators that had been secretly built across Earth's surface were finally ready for their ultimate test. All stations report ready, his assistant announced. Wu Jin took a deep breath. What they were about to attempt had never been tried before. The mathematics alone had taken a decade to solve, and the engineering challenges had seemed impossible until human stubbornness found a way. Begin planetary displacement, he ordered. Across Earth, massive machines hidden in the planet's crust activated simultaneously. They had been built in absolute secrecy, disguised as geological research stations and mining operations. Now they revealed their true purpose as they began manipulating the fundamental forces that held matter together. The planet shuddered slightly, then began to move. In the Dominion Council chambers, alarms started blaring. Sensors across the galaxy detected gravitational anomalies unlike anything they had ever recorded. On their main display, Earth appeared to be moving. Impossible. Council leader Vextar growled, his stone-like features glowing brighter with agitation. Planets cannot move themselves. Their sensors must be malfunctioning. But the readings continued. Earth was accelerating out of its orbit, carrying its moon along in an artificial gravitational field. The entire solar system was beginning to shift as the massive planet pulled its neighbors into a new configuration. Sir, a technician reported with disbelief in her voice, it's functioning as a spacecraft. The entire planet is under artificial control. On Earth, President Sora stood in the command center that had been built beneath the presidential palace. Around her, screens showed the reactions from across Dominion space as their former rulers tried to understand what they were seeing. President, Dr. Wu Jin reported over the communication system. Planetary mobility is successful. We're clear of the solar system and beginning our journey to the rendezvous point. Sora smiled grimly. Excellent work, Doctor. Now let's show them what else they missed. She activated the emergency broadcast system that Dr. Ara had spent years perfecting. Quantum communication networks that operated outside normal spacetime carried her message simultaneously to every corner of the galaxy. Citizens of the Dominion, Sora's voice echoed in the council chambers and across thousands of worlds. I am President Sora of Earth. You believed you had exiled humanity from your civilization. Today you learn the truth about what we have been doing while you weren't watching. The first revelation came from Commander Subin, speaking from a massive space station hidden in the void between galaxies. This is Forward Command Station Alpha. For 15 years, humanity has been establishing colonies across 3 galactic arms. We currently maintain over 4,000 settlements, with a combined population of 800 million people. The Dominion Council members stared at their displays in shock, as star charts appeared showing the true extent of human expansion. Entire star systems they had never explored were marked with human settlements. Regions they thought were empty space contained thriving colonies. This is impossible, Vextar repeated, but his voice lacked conviction. The revelations continued. Kyung-ho appeared on screens across Dominion space, his image transmitted from a hidden base in the galactic core. I am Intelligence Coordinator Kyung-ho. Our operatives have been gathering information about Dominion activities for decades. We know about the species you have eliminated. We know about the technologies you have suppressed. We know about the lies you have told your own people. Commander Junsu's voice joined the broadcast from the bridge of a massive warship, unlike anything the Dominion had ever seen. Behind him, through the viewports, hundreds of similar ships stretched into the distance. This is Fleet Commander Junsu of the Human Confederation Navy. Our fleet consists of over 6,000 vessels, including technology that your own scientists declared impossible. The ships that appeared on Dominion sensors defied everything they thought they knew about physics. Dark matter drives that could cross galactic distances in weeks, quantum armor that existed partially outside normal space, weapons that manipulated the fundamental forces of reality. But the most shocking revelation came from Yunji, broadcasting from what appeared to be a massive gathering of different alien species. Citizens of the Dominion, I am speaking to you from the Hidden Alliance. For 3,000 years, your rulers have told you that they brought peace to the galaxy by defeating dangerous species. The truth is that they committed genocide against anyone who questioned their authority. The camera showed hundreds of different alien species, many of which the Dominion had claimed were extinct. They stood together in a vast assembly hall, representatives of civilizations that had survived in hiding, waiting for someone strong enough to challenge the Dominion's rule. We have made contact with 67 species that the Dominion declared eliminated, Yunji continued. They have been hiding in the dark spaces between stars, keeping their cultures alive while waiting for the day they could return to the light. Today is that day. In the Dominion Council chambers, panic was beginning to set in. Their carefully maintained order was collapsing as their subjects learned the truth about their rule. Communications were flooding in from across their territory as member species demanded explanations. President Sora's voice cut through the chaos. People of the galaxy, humanity offers you a choice. You can remain under Dominion rule, accepting the limitations and lies they have fed you for millennia, or you can join us in building something new, a true confederation of free species working together as equals. The broadcast ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Then the responses began pouring in. Entire star systems declared their independence from the Dominion. Species that had been suppressed for centuries rose up to demand their freedom. The carefully maintained order that had lasted for thousands of years began to crumble in a matter of hours. On Earth, now traveling through space as humanity's mobile capital, Sora watched the reactions with satisfaction. The exile that was supposed to punish humanity had instead freed them to become something the galaxy had never seen before. Dr. Wu Jin, she said into her communicator, set course for the rendezvous point. It's time to bring our scattered children home. As Earth sailed through the cosmic void, carrying 8 billion humans toward their destiny, the Dominion Council realized they had made the greatest mistake in galactic history. They had not exiled a troublesome species. They had released a force of nature that would reshape the entire galaxy. The hunters had become the hunted, and the age of human dominance was about to begin. The Dominion's response came exactly as humanity had predicted it would. Council leader Vextar stood before the largest war fleet in galactic history. 3,000 ships gathered from every corner of Dominion space. His stone-like features glowed with fury as he addressed his commanders through holographic displays. The humans have made a mockery of our authority, he declared, his voice echoing across the fleet communication systems. They have poisoned the minds of our subjects with lies and propaganda. They have armed our enemies and given them hope, where there should be only obedience. The assembled fleet commanders, representing dozens of different species, listened with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Some, like the hierarchy military leaders, clicked their mandibles in eager agreement. Others seemed less certain, especially after learning the truth about the Dominion's past actions. Our solution is simple, Vextar continued. We will destroy their mobile world and scatter their fleets. We will hunt down every human colony and eliminate them all. The galaxy will see what happens to those who challenge the natural order. But Seok Jin had been expecting this response for months. From his command center aboard the massive battleship Freedom's Dawn, he watched the Dominion fleet approach through the dark void between galaxies. The human military coordinator had spent years planning for this exact moment. All units, this is Supreme Commander Seok Jin. He broadcast to the hidden human fleets. Operation Reverse Exodus is now active. Show them what we've really built out here. Across 3 galactic arms, human forces that had been hiding in the shadows suddenly revealed themselves. Stealth fields dropped away from thousands of ships, making them visible to Dominion sensors for the first time. Asteroid mining stations transformed into fortress platforms bristling with weapons. Hidden colonies activated planetary defense systems that shouldn't have existed. The Dominion commanders stared at their tactical displays in growing horror. Every star system they thought was empty contained human military installations. Every uninhabited world they had ignored was actually a heavily fortified base. The humans hadn't just been building colonies. They had been building the largest military force in galactic history. "Sir," a hierarchy commander reported to Vextar, his voice trembling despite his species' warrior reputation, "our scouts report human forces numbering in the tens of thousands of ships. Their technology appears to be significantly more advanced than our own." Vextar refused to believe it. "Impossible. They are a young species. They cannot have surpassed us in mere centuries." But the evidence was undeniable. Human ships moved faster than anything in the Dominion fleet. Their weapons struck with impossible precision across vast distances. Their shields deflected attacks that should have destroyed entire worlds. The first battle came when the Dominion fleet reached the edges of human space. Vextar had expected to face desperate refugees fighting with inferior technology. Instead, he found himself confronting a military force that fought with discipline, advanced tactics, and weapons that bent the laws of physics. Young Mai watched the battle from Earth's mobile command center, her fingers dancing across control panels that most humans had never seen. The theoretical physicist had spent her career studying the fundamental forces of the universe, and now her discoveries were about to save her species. "Defensive. Systems online," she reported to President Sora. "Quantum reflection fields are ready." The Dominion fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams that could crack continents lanced through space toward Earth. Antimatter missiles capable of destroying entire solar systems streaked toward the mobile planet. Then young Mia activated her masterpiece. The attack struck Earth's defensive field and simply stopped. The energy beams reflected back toward their sources with doubled intensity. The antimatter missiles found themselves traveling backward through space, seeking the ships that had launched them. "What sorcery is this?" Vextar demanded as his own weapons turned against his fleet. "No sorcery," Youngmi replied over the communication channels, her voice calm and confident. "Just physics. We learned to use the quantum properties of space itself as a mirror. Your own attacks are now working for us." The Dominion fleet found itself under fire from its own weapons, reflected back with impossible precision. Ships that had never known defeat began to fall to their own antimatter missiles and energy cannons. But the real shock came when Chang Ho began his galactic broadcast. Standing in a simple conference room aboard Earth, the former diplomat appeared simultaneously on every communication device in Dominion space. His message reached not just the military commanders, but every civilian on every world under Dominion control. "Citizens of the galaxy," Chang Ho began, his voice carrying clearly across the cosmic distances. "You have been told that the Dominion brought peace to the stars 3,000 years ago. Today I will show you the real history of your rulers. The evidence that Kyung Ho's intelligence networks had gathered over decades began flooding communication systems throughout Dominion space. Archaeological records showing the destruction of peaceful civilizations. Scientific reports proving that dangerous species had actually been exploring ways to share resources more fairly. Military logs detailing the systematic elimination of anyone who questioned Dominion authority. The species you were told were violent aggressors. We're actually trying to create a more democratic form of galactic government," Chang Ho continued. "They were destroyed not because they were dangerous, but because they threatened the Dominion's absolute power. On world after world, the Dominion subjects began to understand the truth about their rulers. The peace they had enjoyed was built on the graves of free-thinking civilizations. The protection they had received was actually oppression disguised as security. The revolts began within hours. On the crystal world of Nexus Prime, the Nexus beings turned their geometric cities into fortresses against Dominion rule. In the hive worlds of the hierarchy, worker drones began questioning orders for the first time in their species' history. Across hundreds of worlds, local governments declared independence and requested protection from the Human Confederation. But Chang Ho wasn't finished. His next revelation shattered the last foundations of Dominion authority. The council members themselves are not the original rulers of this galaxy, he announced. Our archaeological teams have discovered evidence that the current Dominion leadership conquered and replaced an earlier, more peaceful galactic government over 5,000 years ago. They are not ancient protectors. They are relatively recent conquerors who have hidden their own violent origins. Even some of the Dominion fleet commanders began to turn against their leaders. Ships that had served the Council for generations suddenly found themselves questioning everything they had believed about their purpose in history. Bextar's magnificent war fleet began to crumble as unit after unit either fled or switched sides. The council leader found himself commanding a force that was rapidly becoming too small to threaten even a single human colony. This is not possible, he raged over increasingly empty communication channels. We are the rightful rulers of this galaxy. We brought order from chaos. No, President Sora replied, her voice reaching him from Earth as the mobile planet sailed majestically through the void. You brought tyranny disguised as order. And now that tyranny ends. The final scene played out not with violence but with choice. The Human Confederation offered membership to any species that wanted freedom and cooperation instead of dominance and control. They promised protection without oppression, progress without suppression, and truth instead of convenient lies. One by one, the civilizations of the galaxy made their decision. The Nexus beings brought their crystalline wisdom. The reformed hierarchy offered their organizational skills. Dozens of species that had hidden in the galactic depths emerged to share their preserved knowledge and culture. The Dominion didn't fall in a great battle. It simply dissolved as its subjects chose a better alternative. Chang Ho stood on Earth's observation deck, looking out at the vast fleet of ships from hundreds of different species that now traveled together toward unexplored regions of space. Behind them, the galaxy they had left was already beginning to heal from millennia of authoritarian rule. Where to now? President Sora asked, joining him at the viewport. Chang Ho smiled as he watched alien children playing together in the ship's corridors, their laughter mixing in harmony despite their different languages. The Andromeda Galaxy is waiting for us. And beyond that, there are billions of other galaxies filled with possibilities we've never imagined. Earth sailed on through the cosmic ocean, no longer a planet in exile but the flagship of a new kind of civilization. Behind it followed thousands of ships carrying species that had chosen cooperation over domination, exploration over stagnation, and hope over fear. The Dominion had tried to cast out humanity as punishment for being different. Instead, they had accidentally created the seed of something magnificent, a galactic confederation built on freedom, diversity, and the endless human drive to reach for the stars. In the end, the greatest revenge was not conquest but proving that there was a better way to live among the infinite wonders of the universe.